Truth is, I'm not a racing driver, but I have dreamt about it every day of my life. To get close, I talk about it for a living instead. But today, for just a few hours, I get to experience what life is like on a proper motor racing pathway.
Passione Ferrari Club Challenge is designed to take customers driving racing cars who've never got any experience at all through to semi-experienced drivers to a level where they can go and compete in Ferrari Challenge as a fully fledged racing series. We've got a huge day planned for Rusty today. We're going to throw him in the car first thing in the morning just to get warmed up, and we've got a driver, coach and an engineer and a full suite of mechanics to look after him for the day to really progress him through learning to drive these cars as fast as possible.
As an engineer, while there's a big technical side to it, at this level and even up to the upper levels, it's more about communication. That's a key part of the job. They've got the traction control, the ABS. They're designed as a stepping stone, I guess, from your road cars and track day cars, something in between those and out and out race car like a GT3 car.
Yeah, well, I look at the driver training fairly holistically, not just solely, what the driver's doing in terms of when they brake, how they brake, when they accelerate, but it's everything from the start leading into it, where we start to send the drivers information about the track, gear usage, track maps so they know where they should be on the track. We usually start the weekend with a track walk and discuss every little bump and detail about the circuit before we send them out. So that way their head's in the game, they're ready to roll as soon as qualifying starts.
Okay, clear in the rearview mirror. Engaging pit lane speed limiter. So we're green here, mate.
As you've just experienced, the big key to lap speed is brakes, first of all, because that's the first part of the corner that you reach. So we can compare two drivers and you can see one's braking at the 150 board and one's braking at the 100 board. So you go, okay, you need to move your braking marker a little bit deeper, use a bit more pressure.
If you look to this trace here,
I'm the red, am I?
You being the red.
Oh my God, okay.
And you can see you're about 25% of what Enzo's pressure. But you see the general trend of your speeds in the various corners. Mm-hmm. It's all there. It's all sort of following, give or take, the general theme and trend.
Really, from our point of view, it's just trying to get the most out of the drivers through looking at what they do in the car, whether we need to pump them up, whether we need to pull them back a little bit, and just get all the nuts and bolts to align so that they can achieve what their objective is, and for some of them that's win races, for other guys it's just to enjoy themselves.
Ferrari has treated me to every aspect of what their framework provides to their customers and racers. It has been a day of great perspective. The good thing is Antoine's car is going back in the transporter without a scratch, but I already want to do it all over again.
A beautiful job, and Renato Liberto joins me now, who featured in that package, the category executive, just saying that Rusty actually did better than they even thought. So a shout out there to Greg Rust. What a great experience. What a great way to end our weekend here. Saving the best for last. Right. Ren, we get to hear you in commentary. We wanted to see your beautiful face as well. Tell us, what do we expect from this final race of the weekend?
Well, look, we were talking before, after qualifying too, there's a number of new faces in the category here this weekend. And what it's great to see is that those guys have really excelled and they're really sort of bringing their way up the field. So it's keeping guys like Enzo Cheng from last season, keeping him honest. There's a bit of a tussle yesterday in race one, so they haven't kind of, I guess, had the time to get their cars back in check for qualifying too. So it's really sort of mixed the grid up a little bit here. So I think there's going to be a hell of a lot of action here over the next 30 minutes.
And a Ferrari at the bend, it's just meant to be, isn't it? It works really well. This is seeing these cars at their best.
That's right. I mean, these GT cars and this venue was designed for these sort of cars. And, we've spent a lot of time in Asia and Europe with these cars over many years running them around the F1 circuits. And I've said to some of the drivers who've never been here before, this is like an F1 experience in the other parts of the world. So this track is just built for them. And obviously, this beautiful long front straight is awesome to hear these cars fly past at 280 k's an hour.
This is an important race in terms of the championship, isn't it? Give us some perspective and context around the calendar and what's ahead.
So, I mean, championship points is very close. I actually just did the numbers for commentary just before I left. Jim Pollicina's still leading, but he's obviously set a little way back in the grid here, so he's got some work to do in this race. Enzo Cheng, we expect big things, but Damien Hamilton, you know, coming in with all this pace now, everyone's sort of looking at him as the new target. It is going to start to tighten up, but for the rest of the year with 2 rounds to go, it is still kind of wide open at this stage. It really is anyone's chance to win this championship.
Ren, we're going to let you go. You're going to get up to the commentary box. Thank you for your time.
Thanks,
good luck.
Thanks, mate. Thanks,
we are almost set to go for Ferrari Challenge Trofeo Pirelli Australasia. The fans are getting excited on the grid, and in the thick of it is Charlie.
See, smiling faces all round. It's been a ripper weekend for the Ferrari Challenge. And speaking of ripper weekends, Damien Hamilton, this is your second pole of the weekend. You won yesterday. You are on the precipice of a clean sweep weekend here at the Bend.
Yeah, but right now it's one thing at a time. Turn one and then go from there.
That sounds like an absolute plan. The temperature is a little bit cooler than what we had in qualifying today. Does that factor into how you attack this one?
No, I think it's just get some temperature in the tyres in the out lap and the warm-up formation lap, and then just focus on getting a clean start.
And with these great results that you're getting in just your second round of the season, are you surprised at how quickly you've adapted to this beautiful Ferrari?
Yeah, this weekend, right out of the box, it just really felt comfortable, and I could feel where the car was underneath me, and it's just really clicked, and yeah, really, really happy, and yeah, a bit surprised, but loving it.
Super impressive performance. Go well.
Thank you.
Alrighty, so that is our pole sitter for this afternoon. I'm going to get our cameraman Hut to come on a little bit of a walk with me. I'm going to head over to the other side of the front row. Rob Scott, another debutant in this series. Yesterday he finished P3 and today he is starting from P2. I'm so sorry, sir, I'm just bashing you out of the way. Rob Scott, it's the first time we've had a bit of a chat. Welcome to the front row of the grid.
Thank you. It's super exciting to be on the front row, I tell you.
And it's clear in front of you, however, there is one man in between you and a debut victory in this Ferrari Challenge, and that's Damien Hamilton. What is your strategy to get by him on the first corner?
Yeah, look, Damien is driving very well. I don't think we need to win it in the first corner. I'd like hopefully we're all safely through turn one and settle ourselves down, and hopefully he and I can run away from the drivers behind.
And you're an RX8 champion, so how different is driving one of these around the bend?
Well, I call this the missile. It handles very well like the RX8 Cup car, but it's just on steroids. It's incredible. It's phenomenal.
You enjoy every single second of it.
Thank you very much, I will.
And let's have a chat to Chelsea Angelo. Come on in, Chelsea. A very experienced racer in her own right and the driver coach of Rob Scott this weekend. He's done really, really well. He's quite downplaying how well he's done in his debut round.
Yeah, correct. He's honestly done so marvellously this whole weekend. The fact that this weekend is his debut, never been here before, let alone never driven a Ferrari Challenge 296 is unbelievable. He does downplay quite a fair bit when we go through like data analysis and things like that, but honestly he's good. And I said to him, mate, you've literally got clean air in front of you. I was like, we'll just get past Damien through turn one and then away you go.
Fantastic. So P3 yesterday, as we spoke about, and of course really going for perhaps a win. Do we dare to dream?
We do dare to dream a little bit, but there's a risk versus reward, so I think he is a little bit hesitant in that way. But I just said to him, look, even if he's sticking between P2 at that point, just literally keep focusing on ahead and hopefully he can get a clean race, and it's all clean through turn 1 and 2.
Wonderful. Thanks for taking the time.
Thank you.
Okay, let's head on down to, we're going to go to P4. Enzo Cheng is sitting on P3. Yesterday he had a melee at turn 1 which did hinder his race. However, Adnan Sabai, he had to retire from the race yesterday due to a niggle with what the mechanics called, and I quote, stupid electronics. But Adnan, you are back, and I just want to talk about how much effort you are making this year. This is your only third round in this series, and look how close you are to the front.
Thank you. First of all, you're very kind. Yeah, doing lots and lots of testing in this car and others. Obviously, preparation started last year. And yeah, we really need to get the seat time in to make sure I can compete with some excellent drivers.
I've been speaking to Renato, I've been speaking to Ryan Lewis, all the team here at Ferrari Challenge Australasia. They say, really, out of everyone, you are the most pumped to be here. You're putting in test days, you're putting in extra laps, you're putting in time in the sim. You are throwing everything at this.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, you know, this is such a powerful and capable machine. You need to be ready and completely on point to be able to drive it and handle it at pace with these kinds of drivers.
And we're also talking about the change in temperature now. We can feel it is much cooler. We've got a little bit of cloud cover here. I'm not going to talk about rain. We're hoping for a dry race. But yeah, how do you tackle it, getting the temperature in these tyres?
Yeah, I think that's the key priority. The race starts here. I think we need to work on, you know, throttle, brake application, bit of scrubbing, but not too much, just to get these tyres up to, you know, a really good operating temp, because the cars are so capable. They have so much torque, so much power. Their brakes are so capable. You need tyre temp to translate that into something performance-wise on the track.
I reckon we get you in the commentary box sometime. You sound like you know an awful lot about this, Adnan.
Thank you. Once again, very kind.
Enjoy this race.
Have a good day.
Thank you. Let's head on over to Jim Pollicina. He is in P5. Now, Jim actually is topping the points of the Trofeo. Pirelli, can I ask you to open the door, please, for me? This is crucial for him to retain this points lead. I'll just get my microphone sorted out. Jim, this is a really, really important race for you to keep this points lead.
Yeah, look, leading the championship, obviously I'm racing with Enzo. We're probably qualified a little bit further back than we'd like, but we'll get a cracking start and we'll race.
And yesterday there was that little bit of a melee at the start of the race that hindered it. How are we going to avoid that today?
Oh, look, motor racing's motor racing. You can't always avoid accidents, but she went into lip mode yesterday, so we wobbled around and got you know, a few points. So it wasn't too bad after all, because Enzo also incurred some damage. But we'll try and keep our nose clean, and we'll push on, see if we can get this race under our belt.
And it's great to see some newcomers. We've got Rob Scott, we've got Damien Hamilton, we've got Adnan, who is jumping out of his skin to be a part of this series. What keeps you coming back, Jim?
Oh, look, it's great to see some fresh blood in there. Everyone obviously misses Antoine. I wish him well in his recovery, and he's dearly missed. But it's good to see some new guys out there. You know, let's just get on with the race.
We'll leave it there. Let's get on with the racing. Jim Pollicina, the Trofeo Pirelli points leader. So many men really putting everything on the line in this final race of the weekend. Now let's head over to Greg Rust in commentary.
Thank you, Charlie. Little snapshot of the grid, and while she was doing an excellent job wandering between the cars, I think I spotted Jordan Love in the window chatting with Steve Wyatt, who will start in car 77 out of grid position number 6. And they have worked together, you may recall, for Arise Racing in GT competition. Steve's got a huge amount of experience in this class, in these cars. And this should be, I want to take actually something that Charlie was chatting to Jim Pollicina about, just in relation to the car going into limp mode yesterday and the little challenges around that, but ensuring that he was able to keep circulating and bring home some points. And I think Renato's been crunching some numbers. We'll chat with him in a moment as he gets ready to join us here in the commentary box, because that ultimate decision to keep pressing on, to keep circulating with only a couple of rounds left in the championship, has probably helped Jim in the title race. He leads the championship coming into this round, courtesy of that victory at race 2 at Phillip Island. So we'll talk about numbers in just a moment. We'll let Renato catch his breath, because he's been talking with all the competitors and has bolted here to the commentary box. Why don't we take a look at some highlights for you from yesterday's race 1 of the weekend. In Ferrari Challenge, we qualify each day of the weekend and then we go racing. Rolling start to get things underway as we take a look at some of the highlights. And as they ran down to one for the first time in a different livery this weekend, or a different colour scheme. Enzo Cheng, the 17 is black, traditionally it's blue. A little bit of a drama going down into one for a few of them, and that meant that there was some minor damage for Cheng to contend with. He too continued to battle on. Up in front, Wyatt and Hamilton. Hamilton's in the 14 there, basically duked it out for the race. We saw some pretty impressive numbers as the race continued on for Rob Scott in the number 2. He's taken over that car from
the Kiwi Rick Armstrong this weekend. It got shallow, it got narrow down at turn 1 as Wyatt shut the door on Hamilton and made him do all of the hard work. Then a little bit of lap traffic to contend with in the 488 class. Ross Tremaine did the right thing. He kind of stayed out of trouble, but with 2 on the approach and only 1 series of options. Look at the way that Wyatt ends up getting squeezed there, unfortunately. Hamilton made the most of the situation. That was a significant moment. It was the change for the race lead, and Hamilton ultimately would go on to greet the checkered flag and take the race win. As Charlie said to him on the grid there, it's been a nigh-on perfect weekend for him here at the Bend so far, and all he needs to do now is to try and convert this pole position into another race win. You've seen the highlights of race 1. Here's a little look at where race 2 of the weekend will be fought out. We're on, of the many layouts, the softer looking distance around is 7.7 k's, but highlighted bright red is the track we are using, the configuration we are using. It's nearly 5 k's long. There is a little bit of difference in height in some places. 18 corners in all, runs in the clockwise direction. That big long straight, they get well over 250 k's an hour down the main straight. Big break into turn 1. Some very cool places where the aero on this car is put to good use. There is the series leader, Jim Policina, in the 7. He'll start out of grid position number 5. Renato, you've caught your breath and you've got the updated numbers. Fire them in. Welcome, mate.
Thanks, Rusty. Thank you for that wrap-up and covering for me for the last few minutes, mate. I really appreciate it. Probably the key thing is sort of doing the numbers before this race is if they finish in the same positions they did in yesterday's race 1, Jim will still lead the championship, but only by 6 points at that point in time. So Damien Hamilton has got a lot to gain by running away with this from the start of this race. You know, weather, everyone's talking about the weather. I have been monitoring the radar for most of today, and I think we're okay. It's probably the track's probably going to cool off though. So we saw in qualifying this morning, the track kind of came good halfway through. I think we're probably going the other direction, whereas the day gets a bit later, the track might fall away from them. So it's going to be a tough one for these guys for the next 30 minutes.
Greg Rust and Ferrari Challenge Category Executive Renato Liberto here in the commentary box this afternoon, live at the Bend on Fox and KO, and of course on Ferrari's YouTube channel right around the world. We welcome everybody. If you're just waking up and maybe having a coffee in Europe, go and settle in and enjoy some cool racing here at a relatively new venue in Australian motorsport. What a sight that is. There is a hotel, a stunning welcome centre with all sorts of great cars, new and old, on display to welcome you, and great corporate facilities for our guests, including one not all that far from the AirTouch sign there, just up on the higher level. Level 2 is where you'll find the Ferrari corporate. We've had some wonderful guests through there this weekend. Our race is scheduled for 30 minutes this afternoon, and just to think or ponder what Renato was saying there a moment ago around how close, how tight it is in this championship with only a couple of rounds to go. It's going to be a fascinating end of the championship. Jim Policina sending a little cheerio to Antoine Catani, to our reigning champion, who is still recovering after that incident at Phillip Island. No doubt watching on with great envy. We hope you're going okay, Antoine. We'll get ready for battle here. And Charlie, who you heard from before, Charlie Barlow on the grid there, will be patrolling the lane for us, and there's a good reason for that, because whilst the competitors might be on track for a 30-minute sprint, if you will, we have some high caliber coaches in the lane who will be on the radio talking to the drivers who've been around the Australian and even indeed international motorsport scene for quite some time in all sorts of categories. So Sam Brabham, for example, grandson of the late great Sir Jack Brabham, the triple world champion in Formula One, is among them. And we'll get some insights from Ben Porter and others who are on the radio and actively passing on both motivational things and then sometimes just simmering when we get a little bit overexcited in the same breath.
That's right, but also, Russ, you've got to remember these guys are professional racing drivers as well, so they're competitive in their own right. You know, there's competitiveness between the coaches, that their drivers are excelling here on track, so that's definitely a part of it. But as you say, you know, at this stage, we're just trying to keep everybody, you know, go through a process. Every driver might have a slightly different process, but you can see, you know, obviously warming tyres and brakes is one, but setting up traction and ABS and getting everything sort of installed in the car, if you like, on this lap is really important. and then settling everyone down. And of course we have a rolling start in this category, not a standing start, so you've got to get people dialed in and make sure they're in position correctly, and they're ready for the procedure of which when the safety car lights out, they're then basically rolling into the start of the race. So there's a lot to take in a very short period of time for them.
When you look at the CVs of these drivers, and I don't mean their motor racing CVs, I mean their business CVs, there are some serious operators in this field. Little wonder they get competitive even in their weekend pursuits. So Damien Hamilton will start this one from pole alongside Robert Scott. A couple of newer names, if you like, to the field, compared rather to recent rounds of Ferrari Challenge. Enzo Cheng, who won the Copper Shell class last year and has stepped up to Trofeo Pirelli, the main class, if you will, or the leading class. He will be one to watch in this one. Had a kind of one arm tied behind the back scenario yesterday with a little bit of a drama with his car, and that was courtesy of some contact, not his fault. He battled on, he continued to bring it home, and Jim Polisinger out of 5 is our points leader at the moment, but potentially a narrow points lead for Jim at the end of the weekend. He will be, just judging by the kind of body language or the way he spoke with Charlie there, his eyes on to have a good race in this one. He needs it from a title perspective too.
And it's worth noting for our viewers that are sort of following the series as well, from race 1 yesterday, there was that incident where it occurred at turn 1. Emil Norden did get a 3 grid place penalty as a result of that incident at turn 1 yesterday. So he is starting effectively from rear of grid today for this race.
Okay. You can follow along too. Ferrari Australasia's social channels, social platforms have some amazing bits of content in there, from the various activations and things that they do, to car launches and reveals, and of course this Ferrari Challenge, waiting for the lights to go out here at the bend to get the all clear to go green. Rolling start here, final one of the weekend. Scott on the right of your screen, Hamilton on the left. They run down to 1 for the first time. Scott's had a great start here. Can he get the nose of the car that was so strong at Bathurst and at Phillip Island ahead? He can't quite. Hamilton goes deep. He'll take the race lead into 1. What about Jim Polisinger on the outside in the 7? That's a real statement of intent, up into position 2.
That's an awesome start by Jim, and that's what we've been talking about, Rusty, with those first couple of corners there. If you position yourself right for turn 1, it will pay you a dividend by turn 3, by turn 4. So putting himself right behind Damien here, this is a really aggressive start by him, and we expect that sort of driving from his experience.
Little bit, you can see the dirt just on the inside, a little bit of a dirtier line. Jim goes deeper, he makes it work, and I think Hamilton realised the potential for drama there and wisely sort of stayed out of the way. Jim is into the lead.
That was a great move, really aggressive statement by Jim there, but as you say, Damien's done exceptionally well. These are left-hand drive cars, so he would have got vision of Jim quite easily from his side mirror and alongside him there, giving him the space he needs, which is great, but it has meant now Jim is in command of this race, and Damien's got to deal with a very fast-charging Rob Scott.
In terms of Jim's motorsport credentials, wow. I mean, multiple production car championships, touring car masters champion, Victorian sports sedan champion, and he's been in this class for a couple of years now. Can wheel a race car and has had some good things in the transporter over the years, those with supercars pedigree and history, I should say, and more. He leads this way for the MC Corsa squad from Hamilton. Back in 3rd place is Scott, and then keep an eye on Enzo Cheng. Stealth black colours this weekend. They've not been able to get the blue paint or blue wrap on that car that we're so used to from Enzo Cheng, but that car beautifully repaired after the incident at the island. Replay of the move, and watch this here. Big dive. This is at 1 on the opening lap. Jim makes up several places, up into position 2. I thought he was out wide for the run into turn 2, but in fact Scott gave him nice racing room and he slots in there.
And also watching behind him, Steve White, the 77 car. He went to follow Jim down on that same path wide at turn 1, but then Sibbai moved to defend from another car and he kind of got choked a little bit. So Steve looking for that same opportunity, just as that was coming up, Rusty, looking at the sheet here. So Steve White, as we know, their strategy in qualifying was to kind of go out late and just do 1 bank of laps and park it. Whilst he is just off the back of the group here, he's got tyres that are 5 laps newer than the other guys. So towards the end of this race, he could be one that's really there. We saw him yesterday. We know he's here to race hard, and I think that's going to really play into his strategy if he can stay with this lead group.
You were getting up the stairs to join us here. Jordan Love in the window talking with him before the race started. They've had a good working relationship, those two, haven't they? So
that's right. I mean, it's great that he's got, you know, drivers like that in his corner as well. That they're there to kind of motivate him and I guess just reassure him as well with what he's doing in the car. But I spoke to him before getting in the car this afternoon. He's you know, he's a very experienced guy. He's super relaxed, but you know, he's just having a lot of fun in this category as well.
On cue, that's him there, making the move on Adnan Sibai. That is for 5th place. That is for position. So the Kangaroo, you can't miss it. On Steve Wyatt's car, picks up a place. He's got pace. Just looking at some numbers starting to pop up now. Good sectors from Hamilton. Things coming up to temperature, to pressure nicely. Is he about to return serve on Jim Policina here? They pulled a couple of car lengths on Scott and Cheng, and then it's this pairing here. Wyatt and Sibai. Best of our copper shell competitors is our Andrew Kogan at the moment, who sits in, where are we talking there? Position 7 outright.
And it's pretty close there behind him with Taguchi, Truone and Norden all very, very close together there in that next sort of little battle group. So we said this after qualifying back in the pits talking. We haven't often seen a complete block of Trofeo Pirelli and then a complete block of copper shell cars in qualifying before. And we're seeing that now in racing as well, where they are running in their category, you know, timing lap by lap time. So it is incredibly competitive now in both of these classes.
Watch this. Scott, Cheng and I think even Wyatt are latching on to the back of these two. They had a little bit of breathing space, but I think as Policina maybe just watches that, it's not a rearview mirror in this car, it's an actual screen, just the stealth, the looming 14. That means that Scott and Cheng and even Wyatt now are starting to zero in on these two.
I mean, it's going to be the case we've seen in qualifying and races that they're all very close to the same pace here, within, you know, a few tenths of a second. So it's really going to be making sure that they don't drop off the back of that chain. And at this stage, there's no traffic to worry about. So it's really about just maintaining the pace of the car in front.
So we have a little bit of nerves in the commentary box because Renato's watching on over all of them. Charlie, I would imagine your guest is equally nervous. What's it like for Sam Brabham?
It certainly is, driver coach to Jim Policina. I came straight over and said, Sam, what kind of pep talk did you give Jim before that race? Because it has well and truly worked.
Yeah, it's been a weekend of pep talks for him a little bit. The pace is there. You know, he's such an experienced guy, and I think we've unlocked a bit of the person inside more than actual technique sometimes. And with these drivers, they've got experience, but sometimes you need to give them a slap around and they start to figure it out. And he's finally been able to sort of put it into practice today.
And of course, yesterday we saw that turn 1 incident between him and Enzo really hindered it. So in terms of points, this is really important for Jim as well.
Yeah, massively. I think we probably got a little bit lucky. Obviously, he had a bit of a throttle issue afterwards, which was a shame, but Enzo wasn't really that far ahead. So we managed to salvage some points for him, which is great. And then today, what a start. He's been fired up, and you can almost see it in his eye. He was ready for it, and he's sort of finally been able to get out there and do it.
And how is he managing those nerves and managing that excitement when he's leading a race in one of these Ferraris?
He's pretty good, yeah. He's got so much experience. He's won races everywhere he's been, and you know, this is sort of a summation of the hard work we've been doing since Bathurst into Phillip Island and now here, where he's starting to become more ready for that moment, and hopefully he can execute and finish the job today.
Absolutely, he's got a fantastic guy behind him. And very quickly, let's just touch on Ross Tomaine, because he's of course in the 488 class, clean sweeping it, and he's looking extremely comfortable.
Yeah, I mean, like in qualifying between yesterday and today, again 2 seconds, you know, and so he's just improving every single lap, and you know, hopefully we can get a few more of the 488s in the class as well, just to give him a bit more competition as well. But he's loving it. It's his first year properly racing, and he's having a ball, and he's a super competitive guy, so he just wants to push himself more and more, and we're starting to get there with him, which is great.
So is there an unofficial driver coach competition that it's like, oh, my driver's doing better than your driver? It's an unofficial official championship?
I think you'll have to ask the man in the comm box, the boss, if that's the case.
Thanks, Sam.
No worries, cheers.
Lots of takeaways in that. I mean, firstly to Ross Tomaine, who Charlie talked about leading the 488 class. He is battling, according to the driver Matt, with Baby K in the copper shell division. So he's actually doing a really good job in that older model machine. And from Sam's perspective, he's highlighted something that is so important for the coaches, and that is the ability to work with different human beings. Each of these competitors are wired differently. Something works for one person, like a Ross Tamain here on screen, but you might have to approach it differently with a Jim Policina, and clearly Sam's enjoyed that unlocking.
That's right, and a lot of our driver coaches, they work effectively full-time as driver coaches and instructors outside of the weekends where they're racing. So I definitely find that, firstly, of course, you need to know how to drive a car and teach someone to drive a car, but being able to unlock that performance from the driver, as you say, every driver is different. They will respond to sort of feedback differently as well, and we certainly see from things like doing the engineering, where you're sitting down looking at telemetry, some really want to get into the nitty-gritty of the numbers, the charts and the telemetry. Others want to watch the video and get a lot from that. So we do really need to kind of unlock the driver and find out what makes them tick to be able to, push them to their personal limit.
And they're all going to be busy right about now, because this is effectively a five-way battle. Jim Policina leads. The timing, the last beacon, when they crossed at the end of Sector 1, which is just on the run up to Turn 7, we had him at about half a second over Damien Hamilton. It looks closer from those pictures there at the moment. Scott is a very close third, and in fact goes super deep under brakes there to maybe find a half a car length to get even closer to Hamilton. That's a real carrot for him. He shows the nose, can't get it done there at present.
And that's let him fall back into Enzo Cheng a little bit there as well. Lost a bit of momentum through the middle section of that corner. So it is definitely a race here amongst these 5 cars in terms of everyone here has got the opportunity to do something. But Steve White just wisely sitting back, I think, at this stage. We know he's got tyres that are a lot fresher than 4 cars in front of him. But he's just waiting there, just making sure any opportunity that turns up, he will take.
Just to prove what you're talking about, he has the fastest lap of the race so far, 151.992 to Steve White. Does anyone beat it this time around as they cross the line? No, they don't. And in fact, of that pack of 5, he is still the fastest guy. 152.7 that time. So he is really, it's like a magnet. He is right on the bumper now of Enzo Cheng. That rear bar of that black number 17, he is, look at him, look how close he is there. This is a 5-way fight.
And these cars, whilst we do talk about the aerodynamics of them quite a bit, they're not affected by the other car in front, like we would see in some of the GT3 cars, where there's different body shapes and different aerodynamic packages that really can affect, the way in which they perform. In these cars, they don't have that same effect on each other, so they can race in a lot closer proximity without getting that aero wash or losing performance from aerodynamic grip.
Here's the little piece of perspective. We are not even at half race distance yet. We've still got 16 minutes to go. So if you're on the radio to Steve White, I mean, you're basically saying, hey, we know we've got that rubber that is in good shape. Let's ensure that while we're hunting them down here, that we keep a little in reserve just to use at the ideal moment if we can, with a few minutes to go.
And I've done the maths on it, Rusty. We're looking at about the sort of 18 to 20 minute mark where we might start seeing traffic take effect as well. If we go green the whole way, so we do probably have another 3 or 4 laps before we're starting to see traffic. And as we saw yesterday, that did decide the end of the race ultimately with that that joust that was happening around the Ross Tamain car. So that could become a factor in this race with a group of 5 cars all racing.
Proud Adelaide local, Andrew Cogan, representing Ferrari Adelaide here. He's got some race experience in production cars, improved production and so on. First outing in a 296 challenge, but has owned and raced a 488 previously, hasn't he?
And he's got a nice gap there. He's really commanding the copper shell class. There's a bit of a gap between him and the rear of the 88 car now, Adnan Sibai. So for Kogan, again, as you say, the local is just really showing his experience around here and really putting in some respectable lap times and very consistent lap times.
For the big Zagami operation too, so Rod Wilson, who many people will know, has been a driver in his own right and is very much at the helm of that organisation. Man, their crew have been busy from a repair standpoint between events, but also to their presence here. The work they're doing with Josh and Cam, for example, in the GT3 car, the connection that they have with Roden in the UK. They have not stopped at Zagami, have they?
No, they've got a lot on, and obviously there's other brands they work with as well outside of Ferrari. So, Rod's a very, very experienced operator and has a great team of people around him, and as quite a lot of race teams do in Australia as well, that aren't a full-time professional outfit. They have great contractors they tap into to help them run both of those programs, and all the the sort of mechanics obviously very passionate working about, you know, the cars they're working on, which helps a lot. And obviously, as you said, between the last round and now, there was a lot of repair work to be done. So it's great to see all of the cars back here, and it's full credit to both Rod's team and Adriano's team from MC Corsa on the work that they do both at the track and outside of that.
I know this will shock you. I was a devotee for the Miami Vice show when I was growing up, and if you've not seen Sir Lewis Hamilton's socials, check it out. He has driven just like Don Johnson did back in the 80s, the white Testarossa, and even had a steer of one of the Scarab powerboats that were famous in that series back in the day. I wish I had the fashion sense, Renato. Right, Pollicina. Look at the way he's positioning the car here too. He's anticipating something from Hamilton. There's a little bit of mid-track stuff at times just to make it awkward for him, isn't there?
That's right. And I mean, we saw this in qualifying as well. Hamilton is not afraid to use a lot more of the curb than some of these other guys at the front. So that does open up opportunities, particularly on the exit of corners for a run. We see this big run here. Jim is going to do his usual, though. He's going to squeeze him. He's going to be polite there.
And he's lost it.
Gave him enough room to put him into the dirty section. And we have spoken about that in qualifying. These cars do get light in the rear when they're braking down there. So Jim just positioning himself exactly as you said, perfectly, giving him space, being very, very respectful of him as a competitor, but gave him enough space, but not enough to get the groove done.
Compound effect. Maxed out on brakes, awkwardly positioned, but fair play to Jim in that regard. And then you end up in the dirty part of the track, and it's cost him several spots. But we know he's quick, and we know that's a fast car.
That's right, and you know, now it's put him in the in the target line with Steve White here, which we know is I think he's pacing himself at the moment. I think he's going to start turning the tap on a little bit more in that car to start working his way forward, because I know he's experienced. I know he's done a lot of racing, and he's we know he's quick as well with the quickest lap so far of the 51.992.
There are, when you talk about options, I mean, from traction control, there are things you can do from within the car, aren't there?
That's right. We've got a couple of traction control settings. Effectively, we sort of summarise it to, the first one is when it kicks in, the second one is how much it does when it kicks in. But then we also have adjustable ABS. So depending on the track conditions, the age or degradation of the tyre, we can make those tweaks, and that is something where the engineer and the driver coach are giving them that sort of feedback, and there's usually a bit of a call response. We'll ask the driver how things are going, we'll check what settings there are, and then maybe suggest a tweak if we start seeing, particularly from the TV broadcast, the car moving around a little bit.
Okay, you're watching the fight for second place there in Copper Shell. The 105 is Taguchi-san and Emil Norton in the 100, so they're in a close fight there for the final spots of the podium for Copper Shell, at least over second anyway. That class being led, as we said there before, by Andrew Cogan for Ferrari Adelaide before. Back we go, and look at that. Hamilton is right back in the game here. Pressure on Wyatt. Cheng's been, I wouldn't say quiet, that's the wrong word for it, but he's not done anything outlandish here. He too, I think, has kept a bit of something for the back end of this race.
That's right. I mean, his car looks very locked in. Rob Scott, we've seen the same. Those two guys don't look like they're sort of on the ragged edge of what the tyre of the car is doing at the moment. So I think they're both reserving a little bit of that tyre for a run later in the race. But I mean, you can see now they're all driving very defensive there. Rob Scott, they're getting a little bit on the curb on the way in, unsettling the front, which gives, half a car length on the exit. It all adds up to sort of making a move possible now.
I know the wake of Phillip Island and what the crew have had to deal with in repairing a few cars was probably tough, was probably a headache. This is the racing at its best. This is what you hope and aim for, basically, don't you?
Absolutely. And again, coming back to the circuit does lend itself to this kind of racing. It's a big, wide, international grade circuit, and it really does give drivers the opportunity. Like here, Rob Scott up the inside. Jim's left the door open a little bit, but it does give the guys a lot of opportunities at a lot of corners to put on a pass.
They will absolutely love this when it comes to maybe a quiet little debrief this evening. Jim Pollicina had the eyes on when he spoke to Charlie on the grid. It was clear what he wanted to do in this race, and he's been able to execute superbly so far. Clean and tidy from Enzo Cheng sitting in third. It's Rob Scott in between them. Steve White, ultra experienced in this class with the Kangaroo on the front of his 296. And then Damien Hamilton, what a story, what a star he's been this weekend in this class. Had a crack before down at turn one, it didn't work out, and he's right back in the mix there. Look at Adnan Sivai as well in the background. His paint scheme or wrap on his car is very different to everyone else's, but you can't mistake that he too is is closing by the looks of it. His lap times 1:52.28. Last time by, he's quicker than all of them in front of the mare.
And I was about to say, Rusty, I wonder if sort of Jim's now starting to, he's pushed a bit hard too early on the tyre and hasn't got the gap he thought as a buffer, and now he's driving, around the tyre situation in terms of, the degradation he's seeing on that. Another move in the background there from Hamilton, but we saw as well Steve White poking the nose up the side of Enzo Cheng. I think with 9 minutes to go, or 8.5 minutes to go now, they're all starting to really press on.
Best lap of the race, Steve Wyatt, a 1 minute 51.922, but that bunch of 5 up front can't replicate that at the moment. So to Renato's point, have they used in the fight, in the battle, have they used the goodness out of it? And maybe that's playing to an Adnan Sibai who's just gently crept up on them. There is a caveat in what I just said, and that is Steve Wyatt, because he has that better rubber. He didn't lay down as many laps when we did qualifying this morning, and you use those same those new tyres, those control tyres for this race. So they're in healthy shape, and he's not lent on them, I think, too hard either. So what have we got? Just under 8 minutes remaining now. Run down towards turn 17. Cheng, a little show of the nose. Lights are on. One of the best races we've seen of the season so far. Here we go. Wyatt under pressure here, but he holds firm.
And that's going to affect Hamilton's run now up the front straight. You can see Hamilton there. The first time I've seen his car power sliding out of that corner, he really choked the exit. So I think he's working those rear tyres hard. Rusty, you might have just seen me a bit like a prairie dog looking at the commentary box window there. I'm trying to figure out this lap traffic that we're approaching as well. I think we've probably got a lap before these guys are going to be on our last place competitor Steve Coe in terms of lap traffic and having to work their way through.
That could be a factor, and it was yesterday. And in Ross Termaine's defence, two vultures approaching at the front. He placed his car where he thought it was best, but life was tough when those two were going at it, wasn't it?
And that situation did go under review. Our driving standards advisor Steve Owen did have a look at that. The timing of the blue flags and everything. Ross did everything he was supposed to do, did everything fantastic. But as you say, the vultures were there. They're racing. It's the last lap. They're racing for a championship here. Those things do happen, and Steve came off second best out of that. He was very matter of fact about it. Said these things happen. It was a good race. Had fun with Damien. Shook hands, which is great. Great respect between the drivers, and great to see. But again, this can become a situation for us here in terms of this. We've probably got 3 laps to go or 4 laps to go at this stage, so it's going to be very, very tight.
Oh no, a shame for Adnan Sibai. So he was literally closing in on Hamilton there in the 88. He's P6 at the moment. Is he able to rejoin ahead of Kogan here and keep that spot? In fact, I think he's dropped back to 8th there. That's Taguchi-san, I think, in 8th place there, closing in now. So.
And he and Amel have had an amazing battle, it looks like, for the course of the races. Watching their splits, Adnan has just been at the back of Taguchi-san the whole time there. It's a real shame for Adnan because he has been, had his hands tied a little bit yesterday with a technical issue with the car. Didn't get as many laps as he'd hoped, and really has been showing great pace this weekend at a track he has been, testing and practicing at in lead up to this.
5.5 to go now. Look at that. Tremendous sight. Lights on, nearing the end of the day. And these competitors are now Enzo Cheng. There's both aggression and defence in that, and it works for Wyatt around the outside, and he then shuts the opportunity for Enzo Cheng at turn 3 there. Good job moving back across to ensure that he wasn't compromised.
And there was a brilliant camera angle showing that really play out real time, the sort of transition between the different lines and the different phases of the corner for those cars. Steve did a great job, worked his nose up the inside there of Enzo Cheng. When the door opened, he slipped through and then immediately slammed it before turn 3. So he disposed of Enzo well there. Now his eyes are going to be on Rob Scott with that 4.5 minutes to go.
A little bit of breathing space for Jim Pollicina, who keeps eyes forward. And you can see it. You're watching Scott and Wyatt. Wyatt is able to. That drone shot's fantastic because it does show you that Wyatt can carry speed in a couple of places, maybe a little more than his rivals.
And that, I was going to say, Rusty, a couple of laps ago I did observe that from there. That Steve really carries a lot of pace, but I think that is coming from his experience in the GT3 car. He knows how to work aero and high-speed corners. He's comfortable with the car moving around a little bit of that high speed. He really does pull some quick time out of those cars through that transition there.
Do not write off Enzo Cheng or Hamilton. Hamilton's had that That little frustrating moment when he tried the move down the outside at turn 1, but he's right back on the tail of this group. Here's Coe, who you were talking about in the 488, so he just keeps it off to the left there. There's a little bit of nervousness around Cheng and Hamilton. They get by. Good stuff.
And Rob Scott there. I wonder if that's an intentional sort of handful of bolts out the window there. He's got the puff of dust in Steve's face. There's a lot going on in a very short period there, but good to see all the cars getting through and really sort of working tightly together. There's our Australian team and also some of our boys from AF Course that work super hard. They travel all over the world supporting the series. Steve White there up the inside into 1. Rob Scott did give him some nice space there. This is where I said now, we're in that last few minutes here where Steve's tyres are fresher than everyone. Let's see if he can catch up to Pollicina, and in doing so, he's probably going to have to improve on his 51.9 lap time to do that.
Was there a little reminder, maybe a little bit of words of wisdom from Jordan Love? Just, hey, you're in good shape here. Use it to your advantage. You know the cars, you know how to work that aero, but importantly, save a bit for this phase of the race. Now Enzo, who's been so clean and tidy, he's starting to become a force here now as well. What have we got? Just over 2.5 minutes remaining.
And there's a lot of talk in our drivers' briefing on Saturday morning about the location of turn 6 and the overtake and those sort of things. So everyone sort of focuses on turn 6 as a bit of an overtaking opportunity in these cars, and we have seen that a number of positions change in this race now in that location or opportunities there. So with not too long to go now, I wonder if Enzo's going to have to push quite hard though to catch up to the back of Steve White.
Our viewers watching on Ferrari's channel around the world, and Fox and KO here in Australia haven't been able to see Renato in commentary with me, stepping up to the window every once in a while with those nerves, watching on outside. Steve looks pacey. He looks fast. What is Pollicina going to do? He's just got to hold on for 2 more minutes, and he's held on so well so far for Jim Pollicina. Cheng has pulled clear of Scott and Hamilton. Have they used the best of their tyres, those two? This might now just condense to a 3-way fight. Pollicina clinging on. Wyatt with good rubber underneath him. He is quick here. Look at him. Gets a good run off 18 down the main straight, right in the draft. Jim parks at middle of the road. They're going to have to go on the wide side.
And Steve's already shown he doesn't mind this at the start of the race, following Jim through. So he's done a really, really good job there.
That's for the lead. It works for him. Cheng's in the mix here.
It certainly seems like, we just did a little slide there from Jim, it certainly seems like he's struggling a bit with his tyres now. He has worked them quite hard at the front. I think Enzo, as we said, has been conserving a little bit. So I think this lap is going to be all about Enzo trying to get through on Jim and keep up with Steve.
Steve at turn 6, I think that is there. He's really at the limit, on the limit, trying to get the car turned. He gets it done, and he's been able to squeeze some advantage, some crucial advantage. We're nearly less than a minute to go before we count down to 0. Pollicina second. Enzo knows from having had the box seat to watch Steve Wyatt make that pass before, if he's close enough to Jim, the place to do it is down at turn 1, but he's got to be closer than he currently is. Run up through 13. A little rise up here. You can't see the crest. And then you hit the left hand of 14 and it begins to... You're constantly waiting at this point, the right-hand side tyre. It dips downhill. And then it'll change direction again. Wyatt's good here, hasn't he? He has timed it to perfection.
He's nicely gapped Jim there, so now it's just a battle between Jim and Enzo in terms of watching each other's moves. Jim took a bit of curve on the inside as well, which is going to affect him in this final run up to the final turn here.
Look at Enzo, good drive out of 18. He's in the draft. He needs to replicate what Wyatt did last time by. Jim's been able to just maybe pull a metre or two. He goes to the inside, Enzo. Can he get him under brakes? Jim's squirreling, trying to get that car pulled up, and he's boxed. The MC Corsa entry was boxed. Cheng to second.
And you can see there the way, right at the end, Jim was obviously maxing out that tyre. You can see a little bit of rear locking occurring in the ABS, and you can see again powering down as well, the car sliding around. He's really nursing that tyre now. But also Rob Scott, who we know has been very quick and has been competitive up behind him before. See if he can get this done.
Awesome race. And here comes Scott. Jim, so smart. It wasn't enough of a gap to encourage Scott to dive down the inside there at 6. Then we go through this sweeping sequence of right-handers. Use a bit of constant throttle, use the aero to good effect. Wyatt has bolted there, hasn't he? This part of the track that we've been watching from the drone, he's so strong.
And also, at this stage, he's going to be taking the bonus point for fastest lap of this race. I don't think any of these cars we see here racing within the group they're in, but also with the age of their tyres, is going to be enough for them to try and take that point away.
We're on the run home, though. That's the thing. Only a handful of corners to go. We're through into 14 now.
It's really going to be coming into turn 17. They don't have enough front straight here to get a draft by the finish line if they're not in front. So it's really going to be this last lunge down here into turn 17 that Rob's got available to him.
What a job by Steve Wyatt in the 77. You often talk about the game of chess or the smarts that you need. He has done that to perfection today. Saved some good rubber, got it done at the right time, and takes the win in the final race of the weekend from Enzo Cheng, who looked clean, tidy, and maybe a little conservative for much of the race, and saved it for when it mattered. Now, the 144 of Kogan's got a little bit of dirt and dust down the side of it. I don't know whether he's perhaps driven through someone else's issue there, but it looks like he'll take the Copper Shell Class 2. Great work, and in fact, Kogan will get home in 6th outright.
And you can see that Amon Lord following Taguchi-san across the line in the Copper Shell class as well. Those guys race basically nose to tail for 30 minutes. A great race for both of those competitors. With David Trewern, they're not far behind.
We're waiting as well for the 488 car number 233 of Ross Tomaine. He's 13th outright, but importantly, he is going to sweep the weekend in the 488 class. It couldn't have been any better for him. Here he comes in this class over the weekend. Look at the glowing brakes.
It's such a spectacle on these cars. The V8 noise. He loves throwing the car around a little bit as well. We're telling him about, saw him slide the car around in qualifying.
Oh, he's having a dip on the run to the line.
He must know we're talking about him. It happened before.
He gets it done, though.
Awesome result for Ross. Yeah, fantastic drive for the week. And that's, you can say that's one trophy for Sam this weekend. But Lockie Manif as a coach with Steve White there in the front, they can exchange blows back in the paddock, those boys.
How's the nerves? Are you okay now?
I'm going to go have a big lie down, Rusty. A very big lie down.
Well, our viewers were treated because it was arguably one of the best that we've seen of the season. In the end, Wyatt gets it. The number says by 1.2 seconds, but there's a greater amount of detail in the story and the way that he played it. Well done, Enzo Cheng. Jim Policina was so good for so much of the race, but in the end they chased him down. Scott will get home in 4th. Hamilton with a story to tell for the remaining rounds of the championship. If he can keep the form that he's had for virtually all of the weekend here at the Bend, he'll be good for the remainder of this championship. Kogan takes Copper Shell and Ross Tomaine the 488 class. Brilliant stuff. So much to unpack from that one, and I think the combos between all of them will be really good this evening.
I think Steve's a man of a few words sometimes, but I think he's going to have a bit to say at the end of that one. He did work hard for it and drove a fantastic race in terms of working his way through that paddock and getting there.
It's actually very true what you just said. He often, I think, prefers just to let the driving do the talking, doesn't he? He was a bit that way in GT3. He was, in a nice way, a bit. He sort of politely would sidestep interviews when we wanted to do them with him for the coverage. And of course, we did catch up with him at times, Sandown, for example, last year, and so on. But he just loves the driving, and there's no blemish on that one today. Congratulations to Steve Wyatt.
Yeah, I can see Lockie Manif is going to greet him in a second as just walking into frame there on the right-hand side holding the door.
Unreal. But,
was it all right, he says.
That was fantastic.
It was good, Steve. If you're listening, it was great, mate. Well done.
The MC Corsa crew telling him that was fantastic. We have the podium to come your way. Yeah, that's cool. Lockie Manif in there. He's been busy today. Monochrome Australia GT4, then throwing the Ferrari jacket on. The motor.
Amazing. And there's Jared Ferrari just shaking his hand. And there's a guy who's been, in our series in Trofeo Pirelli 488, part of the Ferrari Perth dealership, Barbagallo over there. Great to see him here supporting his West Australian driver.
Love that. Kogan coming in there as well too. He'll That Copper Shell's been good this weekend, hasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, and well deserved for Kogan as well to take the top step. I mean, he has driven exceptionally well, as we said. He's a local guy, but to jump in these cars, having not a lot of time in the 296, and to drive the way he has is an exceptional result.
All right, well, all the cars are there, and while the celebrations begin, why don't you sneak in with the microphone, Charlie? This will be good.
It certainly will. A little bit of sweat because you worked exceptionally hard for that. Steve, he's trying to steal the microphone off me, guys. He's that excited. Steve Wyatt, congratulations. Debut weekend and a win to finish.
Thank you. Yes, it's a brilliant car. It's my first time in it. Very happy with the outcome. It's taken me a few laps to get the hang of the car, but it's exceptional. Huge amount of power. Brakes are brilliant, and all the teamwork and the camaraderie with all the drivers. Nice, clean race, beautiful.
Awesome. You've got a podium to get to.
Thank you. Thank you.
Now for our Copper Shell, I've got to go and grab him. He's over here. Copper Shell winner Andrew Kogan. First round in this category. A home race. He's an Adelaide local. What a great result. Congratulations, Andrew.
Thank you. It was a bit of fun anyway, so we got up there.
Talk us through that race.
It started out pretty quietly and then just slowly crept into it as it went on, and we had a pretty clean race in the end, so it was good.
You haven't even broken a sweat.
Oh, yes, I have, mate. I'm worn out.
Well, before you take a well-earned rest, go to the podium.
Thanks very much.
Enjoy. And our 488 winner for, I guess, really always, let's just put it that way, Ross Tomain. It's great to see you back in the winner's circle yet again, clean sweeping the weekend.
Thank you so much. I really need the air conditioning out of the 296 because it's awfully hot in here. So there is an email going to Ferrari on Monday about that. But other than that, incredible weekend. First time here at the track. Really got to know it. Big credit to Sam, my driver coach. He's been inspirational for me and just having fun. So
it makes you feel any better. Steve Wyatt is definitely sweating more than you right now.
Wonderful. That's made my day.
Well, get yourself to the podium.
Awesome. Thank you.
I think
Rusty, there's so many smiles down here. They have truly, really enjoyed their weekend racing here at the Bend.
Thank you, Charlie. Lovely stuff. Let's take a look at some highlights for you. Ferrari Challenge to wrap up a huge weekend of the Speed Series here at the Bend. On the run down to one, Scott went deep in the car that was great at Bathurst and at Phillip Island, but going deeper was Hamilton. He took the race lead. The real story was that number 7 MC Corsa machine scything his way through the field. Jim Policina up into position 2.
I mean, it was all happening in those first couple of corners, Russ. We've spoken about that sequence of corners, but really, as we said, Policina was the real mover at the start of that race there. He was really had his eyes on the big move down here at turn 6. Damien Hamilton giving him respectful room there to work with, but immediately going on the offence again, sort of trying to stay on the back of Jim Policina.
How was that? I mean, the dirty side of the track. You're worried about whether we, could get that car squared up and turn for the tight left-hander at 6. He did that, and as you say, great stuff by Hamilton, great presence of mind. Then Steve Wyatt, who we knew had a good set of tyres underneath him, just gradually started to make his mark. Gets by Adnan Sivai there, and then firmly set his sights on the group ahead of him. It became a 5-way fight. So Policina led the way from Hamilton with Scott right there, and you can see Enzo Cheng in the background. He would close in on that group, and with some smarts and I guess a bit of a conservative approach, he played his way into a strong podium result, and so did Wyatt in the background with the kangaroo on the car.
I mean, it's really any one of those 5 guys at this stage of the race that had a chance of victory here. And I mean, the number of moves and sort of potential overtakes that occurred was exceptional for one of these races.
Hamilton had a look. Policina did all the right things. He parked the car to make it awkward. There was no contact there, and unfortunately out on the dirtier side of the track at the limit of the brakes and the adhesion, Hamilton couldn't get it squared, get it turned. He lost a raft of positions in the process. He had a look at Wyatt here. Wyatt was assertive. He could hold. He knew from experience with these cars, particularly through the faster aero-sensitive spots, he could carry some pace. He did it through one there to get by Cheng up into 3rd. Watching on with Scott.
And those great aerial angles of that drone just paint such a good picture, doesn't it, of how the sort of phase of the corner works out from slow in, fast out, or somebody sort of coming in aggressive to try and make the move. It really shows the viewer how those moves transpire. That was a little run wide there by Rob Scott we spoke about, sort of blowing some dust up into Steve White there, but it didn't really faze Steve. He was ready to make the move and get that job done and move on to P1.
So Enzo Cheng, just like Wyatt, as the race wore down with less than 10 minutes to go, these two really started to play their hand. We knew they had potential. Wyatt then on Jim Policina on the outside, but watch this, so both of them kind of maxed out here. Jim trying to defend in the 7. Wyatt carries the speed through 1 and 2, wrestles the lead from Policina, who had probably used every trick in the book at that stage of the game.
Yeah, and I think at this stage you can see the squirming car, and I think Jim's tyres were just a bit worn. This is exactly where Steve wanted his tyres to be at this point in the race, I think, and really capitalised on that by gapping the field and taking command of the race with a few laps to go.
Enzo Cheng executing a similar move, but he went to the inside and made it stick down at 1. Steve Wyatt takes the win and the fastest lap of the race, a 1:51.685. The game of chess done right. Whew. You can hear Ryan Lewis, who looks after comms for Ferrari, in the background, and that is because Ferrari Australasia, I should say, the podium presentation is underway here.
Please welcome Enzo Cheng.
Jim Policina coming up first. He loves his racing. It may not be a win today. It looked like it for much of the race for Jim, but he clearly has enjoyed the outing. Enzo gets better with every race weekend. Our Copper Shell champion, enjoying his time in Trofeo Pirelli. And that win by Wyatt was textbook, wasn't it? Saved some rubber in qualifying for when it mattered most. And then quietly just edged up on the leaders, kept a little bit in reserve, and he was there right when it mattered.
And really that was a strategy that seems to have started from qualifying. He knew what he wanted to do at quali. While everybody jumped out on track, he sat patiently in the pits waiting there with his green tyres.
Well done, gentlemen. Stand by for the champagne.
They'll be acutely aware of that going into the coming rounds, I reckon, now, and we may see a bit of gamesmanship in qualifying. We kind of need to keep an eye on. Tremendous.
We'll reset our podiums now and get ready for our category, Copper Shell.
They've done a great job here, the SRO team, all weekend. Big weekend for the Speed Series here at the Bend. Our next stop on the tour is Queensland Raceway. Ferrari, incidentally, have their own very special event, I think, coming up, don't you, at QR as well, which is going to be tremendous.
That's right. It is the week after the SRO round there, so 21st of June, we're up there, which is a standalone event for us. The SRO weekend, incidentally, does clash with the Le Mans weekend, so with a lot of our staff and expertise from overseas being tied up with the Le Mans program, we've moved our event to the week later. So stay tuned, viewers. There's going to be some information coming out about that soon, but yeah, expect a few little nice extra Ferrari touches there that weekend at Queensland.
There we go. Copper Shell. Andrew Cogan, your winner there. Taguchi-san. And Emil Norden as well.
There's Rob from our Adelaide dealers receiving the Adelaide dealer trophy as well. It's great to see
Ferrari Adelaide. Yeah.
Gentlemen, the champagne is there when you're ready.
And before we go today too, I think we have
well done to our podium
a little moment for Ross Temain to savour as well as we wrap up Ferrari Challenge. You don't get much in the way of rest. I love that glowing brake disc on the 488 because you have a bit of a day here tomorrow, I think, don't you?
That's right, Rusty. We're looking after you mentioned the Testarossa before. We've got the new Testarossa, the 849 Testarossa here, only 1,050 horsepower, which should be quite exceptional down the front straight here, but we're doing a day for test drives of customers and press and so on coming here. So
sounds terrible.
Yeah, look, not many people call in sick on those days, Rusty, I've got to say.
If we suddenly find some well-known business types who are out of action on Monday, you may know why. So, awesome. Ross has had a fabulous weekend, hasn't he? So, they're our podiums here at the Bend for Ferrari Challenge. Let them have their moment too and crack the champagne.
That's that's the marketing manager for Ferrari Australasia there, Andrew Young. A pivotal part of this series even existing. Nice to see him trying to run away from that Ross Domain. Cuts to the drone camera to see what's happening here.
It underscores the family, though, doesn't it? They really enjoy it. Well done to everybody at MC Corsa and Zagami as well, all the teams. AF Corsa as well, who I think we have 4 representatives that come from Italy to be a part of it. Well done to you two, mate. Lovely call there today. We've been treated with a brilliant race to wrap up the weekend in Ferrari Challenge. We're going to go grab a break here. When we come back, we'll wrap it all up. What a weekend. Shannon Speed Series at the Bend.